Get ready to meet your favorite crochet projects. These patterns are not only easy, they are so cute, they're irresistible. Hi, yarn lovers. Thanks so much for inviting me over. If you're new, my name's Krista, and if you are a returning friend, thanks so much for inviting me over. Today we're talking about 10 must-make baby blanket patterns, well, any size pattern, really, any size blanket for 2025. These are blankets to put on your whip list, works in progress, so just make a little list of all the ones you want to try. I'll link everything in the description box down below and also in the comments if I remember. Now, before we get started, I'm going to go grab a cup of coffee. Let's go. Oh my gosh, it's so delicious. I love it. Oh, this is the cup cozy. If you want to make yourself a cup cozy, super fast and easy. Keeps your coffee or tea warmer for a lot longer. Sometimes, if you get crocheting, your coffee cup cools off. This really helps. It gets you a few more rows before you have to go and reheat. Okay, let's get into it. All of these patterns are super easy 2-row or more repeats, but really easy to do. And I show you how to remember what you're doing so you don't always have to go back and keep referring to the pattern all the time. You're going to know what you're going to be doing. So let's get started with number 1. It's a 2-row repeat and I love it. I think I ought to bring this chair a little closer. There we go. Number 1 on the list, other way, this is the Eggtastic. Do you remember the Eggtastic? So good. So it's Eggtastic, really nice for spring. So I made this with Karen Simply Soft. I want to say it was Times New York, the colorway. Anyway, really fun. It's a 2-row repeat. So 1 row you make the eggs, 1 row you finish the eggs. Starting eggs, finishing eggs, starting eggs, finishing eggs. So it is really, it's just enough to keep you a little bit more interested than a 1-row repeat and really fun. Straight edges. I should show you the edges. So you always know what you're doing. Your edges are going to be great. And of course, both right and left-handed tutorials. I'll link all of that down below. Next is Cakes and Candles. This is a gorgeous blanket, 2 rows. So 1 row you make the cradles, the next row you make a candy. So you make candy, you make a cradle. You make candy, you make a cradle. So it's really, really, really great. I used Puzzle Baby for this, which is actually a size 2 weight yarn, but I used a 5mm hook and it went really quick. It's quite a large blanket. This is definitely twin size because I love the yarn so much. It's great. So this is definitely a twin size blanket. Let me fold it in half. Maybe you can get a better idea. So this is folded in half. Such a pretty stitch. Works up really, well, it doesn't work up really quick, but this yarn really helps so much because look at all those stripes in there. It did it automatic. So I really loved how that yarn worked, although a 2 weight yarn for a twin size blanket was a little bit nuts. The border is adorable, stacking shell border. Isn't that great? You could keep stacking the shells. You could make it wider, but for me, I thought that was cute. And it used up just the rest of that yarn that I had. So I really liked it. I still really like it. I like that it's big enough to use. It's not so small that, it's only really for a baby blanket. It's a really just nice blanket. But you could make it baby blanket size. If you want, you just change your starting chain. All part of the written pattern and tutorial. Next is the good old Coronation. This stitch is so beautiful. You're going to love it. So 1 row you do heads, the next row you do crowns. So it's like a coronation. So make your heads, put a crown on every head. Once there's a crown, you make a new row of heads. So Coronation baby blanket, 2-row repeat, but just as, well, pretty mindless, pretty easy. So it's a really good pattern. Plus it looks way more complicated than it is. It's double crochets and and chains, isn't it? Single crochets and chains and double crochets. So if you can do single crochets, double crochets, and chains, you can totally do this blanket. Has a nice straight edge. Ba, ba, ba. So good. So that is something. And you could, it looks really nice in variegated, but you can also just use a nice solid color because the stitch is pretty enough where it doesn't look like just double crochet. Even though it pretty much is. Next is my favorite. I think it's my favorite. I love it. This is, do you know which one it is? This is the Berry Biscuit baby blanket. Berry Biscuit because you make a little biscuit with a cherry in the center or a little berry. So it is, the great thing about this pattern, it's a 4-row repeat. So 3 rows you're making your biscuit, and then the 4th row you're making the space to get to the new biscuit. And what it reminds me of are those Premium Plus crackers, you know, the ones that you crack in half. That's what it reminds me of. So when you're working on it, you want to do those 3 rows, or you want to do those 4 rows to complete that set of crackers or biscuits. So it's kind of really motivational. So you end up sitting down and being super happy making like 2 inches on your blanket. So I used 5 different colors, just like my baby blanket color stripes for mine. And I think it turned out really great. I love the border. I was a bit, well, I didn't know what to do for the border, as borders are. And I wanted to put something so glorious on it. So look at that border. Isn't it so cute? So I just did the same color order that I did for the stripes into a popcorn. But what I did have to do is I had to sew in the tails for every one of those popcorns on the edge there. But it was such a beautiful border. It was worth it. Normally I don't like, I'm one of the people that does not like sewing in my tails. We'll probably find some blankets here with their tails still needing to be sewn in. Or we might anyway. But these popcorns, or sewing in these popcorns, I didn't mind it a bit. Plus there's all that big, for the popcorn, there's all of those extra stitches, you know, the 5, it's thick. So you can just go vroop with a sharp tip, vroop back with a sharp tip, and cut it off. So it was actually really, really quick. I enjoyed it immensely. And this, I think, would be my go-to baby blanket pattern. I think this is the one I would start with. I also think I'd make more than one, just saying. Next on the list of top 10 must-make baby blankets for 2025 is this beauty. This is the Tulip Stitch blanket. I love it. And what I do really, really love about this one is the colors that I used. Just the yarn that I had. I didn't go and buy anything in particular, but I did pick the happiest colors for the tulips in rainbow order, or my version of a rainbow. So from pink all the way to lilac at the other end. And I think it's just so fun and fresh and spring-like. Also, instead of doing single crochets, you know, in between the tulip stitch, generally you're supposed to do single crochets. I did half doubles. And it just gives you that extra height so that your blanket is done faster. So instead of doing 4 rows of single crochets, you do 3 rows of half double crochets. So you end up being done with your blanket quicker. So that is another great thing about this fabulous pattern and why you must make it. You could also do this for pillow covers. I have made a few pillow covers in the Tulip Stitch. So pretty. So any of these blankets, actually, if you didn't want to commit to a whole blanket, what about a pillow cover? So just a smaller size to fit over a pillow you already have in your home. Next on our list, I love it. This is also definitely larger than baby blanket size, but you could customize it for whatever size you want to make or for whatever size the person you're making it for would like. This is a twin size, and this is my Gingham C2C. Join as you go. Isn't that cool? So why it's so great? 2 strands of yarn and a big hook. That's always a good spot to start with. I love using a big hook. So 2 strands of regular acrylic. Each column in each row has 1 color. So whatever color, like there's white in every square on this row, and there's green in every square going down. Same with pink. So you end up getting an actual gingham looking result. Your blanket will look like gingham. So being I don't want to say retired, but being a retired fabric collector sewer, I know what gingham fabric, there's not many crochet blankets that say that they're gingham that actually are. Usually kind of pick a couple colors and do a little plaid kind of thing. And I wanted it to be like gingham. Each, like the thread going through, but instead of thread, it's yarn. So this beauty, join as you go. So you start making a square, 4 rows of a C2C square, and then you join it up. Pretty sure that's how you do it. Well, I'd have to watch it. It was a few years ago. But you basically make a C2C square, and it joins as you go into, you build it like row by row. So you go across, and then you join a new block and go across. You can totally do it, and it is fast. It's a very addictive pattern because the color combinations you can do are so fabulous. Like you could do black, white to make yourself like to do a gray. Well, yes, you would need a 3rd color. So 3 colors, right? 2 colors and a neutral. So think of it that way. Also really good for like sports teams. It's a really nice, it's a heavy blanket. It's like a usable, proper blanket. And with the big hook, it goes really quick. So you actually get somewhere. Each of these squares, I want to say, is probably about 5 inches. So that is a winner. It's a keeper. It's a winner. Really good pattern. And a much loved blanket, actually. Oh, next. Now we're getting into blankets that are made in the round. So instead of doing rows, these blankets here are all rows. Why I like going around is if you are not sure how much yarn you have, you don't have to worry about like, if I make it this wide, will I have enough to make it in proportion with rows to build the height? If you work in the round, you just kind of keep going until you run out of yarn. So it takes that whole stress of how much yarn do I have? How big is my blanket going to be? How wide do I have to make it to get, like to use up all the yarn? All those problems disappear. So first on the list of working in the round blankets is Floors and Windows Baby Blanket. So 1 row you do floors and 1 row you do windows. For me, I thought of it as building a skyscraper or building an apartment building. Do you know what I mean? You put a floor, you put windows. You put a floor, you put windows. So that's what we're doing for this whole pattern. Plus treble crochet. Just throwing it out there. US treble crochet. So it goes really fast because each stitch is so much taller than a regular double crochet. It works out to be great. Someone asked me, can you do it with double crochet because I don't like treble crochets? And no, you can't because, well, you can, but your corners would have to change. The way that this pattern works out, you do not have to change the corners. You just follow the pattern. If you want to do double crochets, you're going to have to change your corners, or your corners are going to have too many stitches and it's going to start like ruffling and being one of those flattened starfish kind of patterns, which I don't want to say are my pet peeves, but almost. I'm not a fan of incorrect stitch counts. And this pattern also has this amazing border. This is the daffodil border. So you build little flowers on the ends. I just went through my yarn collection to find yarn. This is Cakes Blues from Ice Yarns for the center. And then I went through my Yarnscape to find colors that kind of matched close enough to be the border in a solid accent. So we did little daffodils. So that's a cute one. In the round, I used 1 pack of Cakes Blues So 3 little cakes, I think, come in Cakes Blues, or they did back then. Really nice yarn to work with. It was really a nice yarn, gotta say. Next on my list, next on your list, top 10 blankets must make for 2025 is Cakes and Candles, if you haven't already. This beauty starts out with a cute little circle. You see the center of it? It's so cute. And then you work around 2 different rows. Or is it 1 row? Nope, it's 2 different rows. So it's a 2-row repeat, super easy because you're doing cakes and then you're putting candles in them. So it's kind of like a birthday cake, right? A birthday blanket. So you make your cakes, you put your candles. Or if it's a cake, it needs a candle. If it's a candle, it needs a cake. So you just kind of work your way around. One of the first blankets I made, sadly, where is it now? There it is. One of my children back in the day, in their scissor phase, cut it right there. So I don't use it. It just stays folded up. I unfold it to show you every now and again. And I should actually take some thread and just stitch that together before it falls apart even more. Has any of your crochet projects gotten attacked by ill-mannered children? Of course, no one has confessed to that. But I do have an idea of who was upset and into a scissor phase at the time. Bless their hearts. Anyway, that happened to me. Has it ever happened to you? Okay. Next, I'm just wiping that memory from my mind. Next on the list, in the round, this is such a great pattern. Such a great pattern. This is Granny in a spiral. You see the spiral in there? Granny in a spiral. So this pattern, so great if you do not like joining your yarn, like joining the round and then stepping up. You don't do it in this one. You go in a spiral. The other thing, you basically never have to join, well, not, you do have to, but you use 2 different kinds of yarn. So I use Picasso for my colored row, and I just use regular white acrylic for the in-between row. And then you just work around in the one yarn and then work around in the other yarn, and you just keep alternating, going around and around. So you never join. So you never have to step up, and you can make it as big as you like. You just keep on going around. And each ball of yarn lasts so long because you're using 2 of them. So you just kind of it's like endless, mindless crocheting, just double crochets for this one. And of course you could make it any size you like. It looks great with black. Like instead of white, to have a black yarn. Also really nice in charcoal. The other feature is we don't turn our work. So all the pretty stitches are on one side and all the macaronis are on the other. Both sides look good, to be honest. But here's the back. Can you see that? That's the back side. And this is the front side. So it's pretty fun. Pretty fun, and just the creativity of doing a solid color with a variegated, it really highlights the look. It highlights the beauty of the variegated yarn. So this is definitely a must try 2025. And last but not least, is that 10? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It is. Oh my gosh, I have so many blankets. Last but not least, do you remember this beauty? This is my Granny in a spiral round blanket. I love it. Again, you don't have to step up and join your yarn. So if you have this beautiful sort of variegated yarn, there isn't a spot where you have to join that color to a random color and then step up and like jog that color up to the next round. You never have to do that. You just keep working around and around. So the color change is fantastic. Let me hold it up for you so you can see what I mean. Right? You could, now this is good for a variegated yarn. If you were wanted to do stripes, it wouldn't work so great for stripes unless you joined, like you changed color at but you would have that jog. So this is good if you have variegated yarn, self-striping yarn. This is Cakes Baby Fine. No. Cakes DK. Yes, it is. So it is, I really love it. And then I just picked a little gray that I had. This is Super Baby for the edge. Just a little light gray for the edge. And I'll show you where it joins. If you're like, oh, but if it's in a spiral, it's going to be weird at the edge of it. It's not. That is the join right there, or the step down. That's cute, right? So, what is your favorite? What are you going to make first? What are you putting on your list of things to do? And do you have yarn for these already in your house? And you're like, oh my gosh, I totally have it. Go and grab that yarn and get hooking. I'm so excited. So I hope you enjoyed that top 10 must make baby blankets for 2025. I'm waiting for you in that video up there. Stay hooked.